Today we got a talent tree guide and review for Star Wars Dawn of Rebellion, and we're talking the Pirate talent tree, which is a universal specialization. Though really, this is where it started where the universal specializations started feeling like full-blown specializations. There's enough there typically to where it feels like you could just play that as one character, start from there, but officially because of the rules you can't, unfortunately. House rule, though, any universal specialization should be able to be taken as a first specialization. Especially with these ones, it might as well be. They're just additional specializations. They're not supplementary or complementary or any of that crap. They're just other specializations. So, the Pirate talent tree, I have some weird issues with this one. It gets really specific with some of these talents. Too specifics to, I think, the tree's detriment. They really went in on the pirate theme, which is good. The space pirate criminal thing, they went all in, but it just a little too much. And we have these talents which are really more powerful than they should be, but it kind of makes sense because they're so specific. But because they're so specific, you're not really going to use them that often, and it just feels like a waste on the tree, especially when this is the stuff, for the most part, they're the fresh new stuff that this tree brings to the table. And it's just kind of a disappointment. So let's start with those. Know the ropes. You are especially good at getting yourself out of like handcuffs or ropes or any other personal restraints, as they say. I didn't want to say they're really good at bondage and get demonetized. Oh, crap. I guess one good thing about this talent is that it just helps you with checks dealing with the personal restraints. And if the GM allowed you to, perhaps you could do an athletics check to burst out of them, or I think by default it's like a skullduggery check to do it, or something like that, or like with binders they specifically list skullduggery, but maybe the GM will let you change it if you spend a destiny point or something, I don't know. If you roll really well, really well that is, you can also free other people on your team, which I don't know how useful that is. How often are you in a situation where you untie yourself, then you're really pressed for time to untie the rest of the people? Like, it can happen, but it seems rather situational. It seems like in most instances, once you've untied yourself, like, that's the tricky part, that's the hard part out of the way, and then you just, like, cut the ropes or fiddle with the whatever. I guess technically you would need maybe the key for stun cuffs or something. I don't know. I guess it kind of works. It's just too specific to really be all that interesting, and I keep wanting to find a way to make it more universally useful. But it's also really powerful the way it works mechanically, so it's like if you change it, then it's overpowered, or it could be. Personally, if I had a player who had this tree, I think with this talent, I would allow them to use it to like get out of sticky situations as it relates to the criminal underworld. So like, it could help you with streetwise checks to gain trust of people, or something like that. I don't know. Another talent that's kind of like this is sort of the big pirate one. Prepare to be boarded. You can make an opposed check against a ship captain. In fact, it's really almost like a favored foe against ship captains, because they don't even really have to be on a ship. Like, you don't have to be on a ship, and they're on a ship. It doesn't have to be that specific. It just has to be against a ship captain who owns a ship, and you can theoretically intimidate them enough with almost like a verbal attack to, if you roll really well, if things go really well for you, you can just take their ship. They surrender their ship to you. So I guess in the traditional prepare to be boarded, we're on a ship, you're on a ship, that sense over the intercom, yeah, you could take their ship that way, or they surrender it that way. But also it could be like a poker game, I guess, which is kind of neat, but it's one of those things where, like, you take forever to get to it, and it's really expensive. The saying, if you only have a hammer, all you see are nails? Well, that's not really the case here. Like, you have other tools to work with. You got a screwdriver, you got a saw, a level, tape measure, whatever. You got some other tools. But that hammer is so nice. It's like, I'm talking ivory handle with gold inlay, like your name is engraved in it. You spent 2 months' salary on this freaking hammer. It's got a motor, it purrs like a kitten, the works, the best hammer ever invented. You're gonna want to get your money's worth. And so if you have this talent, players are going to want to constantly go out of their way to where they're taking ships from people, which I'm not saying this is an insurmountable issue for the GM to deal with, or even the other players. The other players probably are going to be bothered by this, stop bringing all this heat on top of us, and, not every ship is so easy to sell. It's stolen merchandise. It's hot. There's been too many thefts in the area, and the Empire's cracking down, and no one wants to touch it anymore. And so now you have all these stolen ships in your possession on this little lot of yours, and now you have to fly them to another part of the galaxy to try and find buyers there. And I'm not saying it's insurmountable of an issue to deal with, if players going out of their way to deal with this, but if it were, and this is kind of weird, but I think if it were more useful, not so specific to an attack against ship captains and had a chance of taking a ship, I think people would be less likely to use it in that way, because they want to use this big, awesome talent, but because there's multiple ways to use it, they kind of scratch that itch and get it out of their system, and are not just constantly wanting to board and steal and then sell ships, right? Maybe, possibly. If this were just an intimidating, coercion-based attack on some leader characters, maybe get them to stand down. If you roll really well enough, maybe some minions will stand down as well. It's possible, I guess. That could work, and technically it also works on the whole ship thing, boarding a ship and getting them to hand over the ship. I mean, really, it's a get out of an encounter for free button, but how often are you gonna... It's not even once per session, it's once per encounter, so you could just keep doing this and doing this. I don't know how I feel about this talent. I keep going back and forth on these talents. They're very weird, very specific, very powerful. I guess it's technically balanced-ish in that way, but anyway. You can alter a deal, which you take a deal that you previously made and just alter it if you succeed at this check, and so you wouldn't have to worry about certain ramifications. One, it might be easier because even though it's kind of a hard check, most likely a normal person who didn't have this talent this would be an opposed check, and that dice pool is likely to have at least a red, maybe two, red and a purple, red, purple, purple, red, red, purple, something like that, depending on the stats. If you are doing an altered deal thing, if there's someone worth making deals with, there's a pretty good chance it's kind of a important person, a powerful talker person, negotiator kind of a person, so even though it's a hard check, it might be kind of on the easier side, but also you just do the check and they accept the deal, and they're not going to lie and double cross you later, or you can't alter the deal, and then they shoot you or whatever and it turns into a fight. You just skip that part with the check, so it kind of works. It comes off as one of those talents where I thought I could do this anyway, but then if you think about it, it's not the case. It's fine. It's a fine talent, and really as much as complaints I have about these talents so far, not sure how I feel about them. There's enough here, and the rest of it to where it's a pretty decent tree, which is basically just an intimidation-focused talker. Kind of a jack-of-all-trades talker. There's a little bit of help with the other talking stuff as well. Mostly, though, they're a coercion, intimidation-focused talker. That comes in the form of, let's say, intimidating. A little bit of intimidating. You're good at defending against coercion-based checks. Hard to intimidate. Also, you're good at intimidating people. Mechanically, the way it works, you don't get help against certain really weak people mentally, but you do have an easier time intimidating the more powerful. It's so weird how, depending on the numbers, you might chip away at Darth Vader's ability to be intimidated, but not the Stormtrooper. They wouldn't be affected at all. It's just weird how the mechanics work. Luckily, it's paired with some basic, you're better at intimidation help in the form, is this new? Fearsome Rep. Certain result is just added onto your coercion checks. That's it. It's just added onto it. Just some good old bread and butter passive help. And we also, I guess, technically have some help with intimidation in the form of greased palms, which Quartermaster or Entrepreneur have, where basically you pay money to be better at a social check, any social check you want. So you get, and it's a pretty significant amount of help, so you get help in a wide variety of stuff, be it flexible talker if you really want, or just use it to intimidate the crap out of people. That's good. Now, as far as the sprinkling of help in the other talking stuff, and not just talking, but other general pirating stuff, let's see, we have some basic dice pool manipulation for leadership, also cool to help you with initiative, that sort of thing, street smarts, knowledge underworld, just basic, simple dice pool manipulation with those. We have some rarity manipulation for your negotiation checks, but only as it pertains to the black market goods, so you have an easier time getting those. And Charm and Deception, we don't actually have help with, but we have a really interesting talent you'll want to use, and because of that, you'll want to put points into those to be good at them, or at least one of those, so it's worth it. So basically, when you do a check of Charm or Deception, you can spend some results, and they're not that expensive, really, in order to put a decent debuff on the other team. I really wish there was, and there probably is, some sort of Charm or Deception-based attack, or maybe even a buff or debuff. I don't think there is a Charm or Deception-based debuff somewhere. There might be. There's a million of these trees somewhere. If there's some sort of action that you can use on a regular basis to help your team or hurt the enemy with Charm or Deception, it'd be a great pairing with this, because then you get the extra thing on top of it. Double Talk it's called. Use your Double Talk to confuse people. We also have decent help with strain management. Use your Charisma to help with your strain. And we have decent defense against certain types of more mental and presence-based critical injuries. A little bit of help with stealth and skullduggery for your sneaky crime stuff. A lot of spread out, jack-of-all-trades kind of a feel. As far as actually building them, if you are going to play them, and I'm thinking this in terms of your only tree, really, it's hard to see this as a supplementary tree, any of these. Even the jack-of-all-trades feeling of this one, I just see it as its own tree, and so for that, what build would work well? Quick Draw. We also have Quick Draw. I should throw that out there. Combat-related-ish. But you're not really a combat tree. You're a talker, which means you want probably a 4 in Will to be really good at Intimidation right out of the gate. Once you get that Greased Palms, that will help you with all sorts of social checks. You could go with a... Now we go with a 4-3-3 if you want to do like just a pure talker in Presence and Cunning, respectively. You'll probably get more bang for your buck if you do like a 4-4 Presence and Will, because Presence covers 3 different talking skills. But how can you play a pirate that's not really good at lying? So for that reason alone, I would want to do a 4 Cunning, 4 Will. Intimidation and lying, it just feels right. And yeah, you're mostly just talking to people. You have some cool little tricks in case you get tied up, or in case there's a ship you can board. Being able to sell an illegal ship, like that's a big boon of money to your group, right? That's a decent contribution. But yeah, they're mostly just a perfectly okay talker. Wish there was some combat there. It's so weird there's not combat here. The Doctor is a better combatant than Pirate. How weird is that? That is so weird. Anyway, alright, bye.